Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Hakem. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning, and I'm so glad that you joined us this morning. Boy, do we have a lot to cover, all the way from national to local. We are going to address a little bit later on in the broadcast more in depth, but it's important to know, if you've been on social media, there is a rumor, and it's a false rumor. The Steuben County is going to build or have an ICE detention center. That is just clearly not the case when you get down to the bottom of what is actually being done. It's not even close to the case, but this is an example, and we've talked about protests, not just nationwide, but the protests locally, misleading their followers to get kind of rile up the base. It is not accurate. I want to stress this. If you've seen it, I got numerous calls yesterday about it. There was all over social media this idea that Steuben County is going to add an ICE detention facility. Blatantly false. And we're going to tell you what some of our elected representatives had to say, Sheriff Allard, what Kelly Fitzpatrick, all friends of Frankly Speaking, what they had to say about it, and what the truth of the matter is. So when you see that on social media, it is patently false. But again, it's to gin up the base of the people that are protesting sometimes 2-3 times a week, trying to get a presence at the Steuben County Legislature to protest. Again, protesting something that is just not accurate at all. But again, it builds their crowds in their mind. And I saw people posting yesterday, anecdotally, that are not what I would say normally political. But because there were people spreading this false rumor, they bought into a hook, line, and sinker. We'll tell you about that here in just a little bit. But first, let's go to viewer comments. Yesterday, we talked about New York ranking, what was it, like 40? I'm never good at remembering numbers, but like 45th, let's say, 47th, somewhere around there in retirement destinations, meaning that no one's coming here to retire, or most people that are retired are coming up with a 10-year plan. We've talked about that numerous times on this program. It is not a friendly state for retirees. Well, this is in reference to that. New York is about last in every category except taxes and cost of living. If they had a category for stupidity, New York would be first. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Mark writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. Some good news for the area. Corning Incorporated has signed a deal with Meta, and their stocks are soaring. It's interesting how there can be two sides to each coin. We're going to tell you about the stocks. We're going to tell you about that deal. But a comment from a different viewer. Corning struck a $6 billion deal with Meta for its fiber optic technology. Meta for AI technology. But Corning will expand its operations in North Carolina and not in New York. Go figure. So there's two kind of ways to look at that. Yes, to Mark's point, Corning stock posted its best day in 2 decades after the announcement of the $6 billion Meta deal. Corning stocks jumped nearly 16% yesterday and extended the gains in the aftermarket session. And this is great for many people that worked for Corning Inc. or some locals who have invested heavily in the past in Corning. But on the other side of that coin, they will not be expanding here in New York. To that other viewer's point, the expansion, again, tied with Meta and a $6 billion deal, will see a significant expansion in their manufacturing capacity across North Carolina, resulting in close to 1,000 additional jobs statewide in North Carolina. So in some ways, very good, of course, for our area when we talk about stock market or stock prices increase, but also the jobs will not be here, but in North Carolina. And speaking, if we want to talk about states where people, in New York, we talk about the mass exodus so often. Where are people going to? Well, Corning jobs expanding in North Carolina. Also, Trump announced that John Deere is going to invest $70 million in North Carolina as well. Trump calling it a historic investment. And I think it's going to pay off very, very big. And if it doesn't, I have nothing to do with it, he joked. But if it does, I'm going to take full credit. I love those excavators. Believe it or not, I know a lot of them. We don't make them here. This is going to be the only excavator entirely made in the U.S., the United States of America, and I love it. John Deere stated in a press release shortly after the president's announcement that the plant will be in Kernsville, North Carolina, and is on track to open in 2026. Now, I know in the courting announcement, and I got it from an outlet based in Hickory, but I guess Hickory, North Carolina is seeing kind of a significant boost, we'll put it that way, specifically, but overall, North Carolina, 1,000 additional jobs from Corning Inc. Okay, there we go. All right, I know for whatever reason, we've already started off the show, so I can't say starting off the show. What are your thoughts? We've been talking about sports at the beginning of the broadcast. Just your thoughts that Bill Belichick won't be a first ballot Hall of Famer. The NFL world has been baffled, shocked, outraged, as ESPN reports that Belichick, the six-time Super Bowl winning head coach with the New England Patriots, was not elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton on his first appearance on the ballot. Belichick fell short of the requisite 40 votes of 50 votes from the voting committee. Now, if you're not familiar, the voting committee is made up of at least one media representative from each football city and other at-large members. So he did not hit that 40 vote threshold, Bill Belichick, to be a first-time ballot Hall of Famer. Whatever the reason, some saying that maybe just Belichick should wait a year before getting included. He won, it should also be noted that he won 2 Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator with the Giants. But again, he will not be enshrined in 2026. Jimmy Johnson, who is in the Pro Football and College Hall of Fames as a coach, said, "I would like to know the names of the blanks who did not vote for him. They are too cowardly to identify themselves." Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes said, "This is insane. Don't even understand how this could be possible." Future Hall of Fame defensive end J.J. Watt saying, "I can't be reading this right. This has to be some knockoff Hall of Fame or something. It can't be the actual NFL Hall of Fame. There's not a single world whatsoever in which Bill Belichick should not be a first ballot Hall of Famer." You can kind of get the idea. One NFL executive sent a message to ESPN's Adam Schefter expressing that the people who didn't vote for Belichick should be exposed. The 10-plus people that didn't vote for Bill Belichick should be exposed. This is crazy. Others calling it erroneous. So again, your thoughts just as a little kind of a warm-up to the broadcast, as we've already talked about some pretty heavy issues when we talk about New York State, we have a couple of other odd bird stories. We are going to talk about Representative Ilhan Omar. She was at a town hall yesterday. She was sprayed by a syringe of what was called a nasty-smelling liquid. A person has been arrested in that case. We're going to talk about that. We're going to tie it in with some other political issues, some updates on Trump. Then we're going to get into Minnesota and Minneapolis. A lot of breaking news there from overnight. And we are it's very clear that there are people, kind of the agitators that we talk about with protests, trying to somehow bring it to upstate New York, bring it to Steuben County, and fabricating a story. Again, this is a public service announcement at this point. Fabricating a story that somehow there is going to be an ICE detention center in Steuben County. It is not the case. We're going to get you the facts on that so that you could be prepared. All right, continuing with just stories there's no way to segue to before we get into the actual news. Sometimes just kicking it off a little light. And I tie this in because we just talked about sports, and this is actually from Outkick, so somewhat sports related. Listen to this. Marines in restricted military training area on Quantico Marine Base have reported seeing a Bigfoot. It's one thing for a couple of bottle rocket shooting teenagers to report a Class A encounter with a Bigfoot in the Wisconsin wilderness. It's quite another for a former Marine to submit a story of a run-in in a restricted military training area. The Bigfoot Field Research Organization received one such report a couple of weeks ago from a now former Marine in regard to an incident they say took place one summer on Marine Corps Base Quantico in Virginia. An investigator, Matthew Moneymaker, spoke with the reporter of the incident and had to say, quote, "I spoke with the former Marine, Andrew Bird, at length. He is credible. And he was not the only one who observed this figure that night. 2 other Marines were with him and saw the same thing." I bet you didn't expect this morning to kick off your Wednesday broadcast of Frankly Speaking. I don't know. Why did I bring it up? Because it was on one of our show prep sites. Whatever you think about that. So yes, yesterday, Elon Omar was sprayed with an unknown substance in a syringe while she was at a town hall. The ranting audience member has been arrested. We'll talk about that when we return. Oh, also, since we're doing a little housekeeping, we should do a little housekeeping. Later on in the program, in the 7 o'clock hour, we'll be talking with Ali Mazi. She is in the play that's coming to, or the musical that is coming to Clemens Center called Good Witch, Bad Witch. We're going to find out what that musical is all about. We're going to talk, and it's more than just good witches and bad witches. We'll also find out more about just her career. That's a little bit later on. On tomorrow's program, Greg Tranter will return to the program. He's got a book signing coming up about his new book, obviously, about the Buffalo Bills. So we'll talk to him and we'll maybe take a look at the season that was and maybe the season of the future. Then on Friday's broadcast, former Congressman, current Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski will be joining us, always a fan favorite. And get this, back-to-back fan favorites on Monday. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be joining us. So we have a very busy schedule ahead of us. And if you missed yesterday's Rotary interview, that is up online on YouTube as well as WYDCTV.com. And one that is getting a lot of traction because of this false story that there's going to be an ICE detention center in Steuben County. But the interview from Friday with Sheriff Jim Allard, that is up on our YouTube page as well. That is getting a lot of traction now. It is being quoted by the Hornell Sun to show some of these agitators who are trying to get others riled up that this is not a true story about the ICE detention center, and to kind of maybe calm the waters a little bit. I have my doubts it'll do that because it's a lot easier to spread a lie than it is to get the truth out there. But we're going to get the truth out there later on in the broadcast. So stay with us. Just getting warmed up. I see some waves. I see some comments coming in. We'll be right back.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
A concert of diva showstoppers featuring a Glinda and Elphaba from the Broadway company of Wicked.
Quite as popular.
Good Witch, Bad Witch has been thrilling audiences coast to coast with their stunning vocals and playful banter. Good Witch, Bad Witch, February 5th at the Clemens Center in downtown Elmira. Tickets at clemenscenter.org.
Let's say this is your head. It's way too easy to let it fill up with the wrong stuff. Anxieties, pressure, worries, school, social life, family problems. You can do nothing and keep it all in. Much better to let it out. Talk to friends, parents, a trusted teacher. A solid first step you can take is visit yourlifeyourvoice.org. You'll find proven, practical ideas that can help you get back on track. You only have one head. Look after it.
This prolonged cold snap will stay with us through the end of this week, even through the weekend. We'll be at 17 degrees for high temperature this afternoon. Under mostly sunny skies, the average high is 34. As we look ahead, we see a few light lake effect snow showers, maybe a few flurries out here this evening. And overnight, more cold air pooling over us, though. We see our temperatures dropping down to 6 below Thursday night. And through the rest of the weekend, finally, maybe some moderation in our temperatures early.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. What a slew of comments coming in on some wild topics we kicked off the broadcast with. We've got, okay, let's start with the Bigfoot comments. Mark says, makes you wonder what the Marines were drinking or smoking when they saw that Bigfoot. I don't think Mark's a believer in the Bigfoot. A comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Bigfoot. There's always been talks of aliens. I've been waiting for disclosure since the moon landing. Oh, I mean space aliens, not the illegal ones. Thank you very much. Saying they've been there and done that already, that they've heard this over and over again. Okay, on Belichick, a viewer writes in, you have to wonder, given the media's bias, if Belichick wasn't inducted into the Hall of Fame as a result of politics. I think that's a very fair question, because if you look at the Baseball Hall of Fame, Curt Schilling has not been inducted into the Hall of Fame. They have the media kind of apparatus vote, if you will, that he has not been inducted in the Hall of Fame because of his politics. And I don't even think most deny that at this point. He's a Trump supporter, very conservative. And so I think it's widely accepted that Curt Schilling isn't in the Baseball Hall of Fame purely because of politics, not because of ability, not because, and you got to look at Belichick too. If you're just looking at pure numbers, pure stats, this is saying that we're no longer basing Hall of Fame induction on the actual sport and metrics of the sport. And I don't know Belichick. I guess I've never seen him be overly political, but there's some reason, some type of bias there, and it would be nice to get to the bottom of it. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I like this one. Belichick can't have a big award and a 24-year-old girlfriend at the same time. He could have a heart attack or something. That's a very fair point. He's got to kind of divvy those out, not all at the same time. Thank you very much. So Representative Ilhan Omar, in that breaking story from yesterday, was accosted and sprayed with an unknown substance by a man who rushed the stage with a syringe. This was at a town hall event in Minnesota. And, you know, instantly the headlines read, Trump foe attacked, or, well, I'll give you another example in a moment. But Omar was at the podium criticizing Kristi Noem and calling for the abolishment of ICE when, I'm going to try his name here, Anthony Kazmierzak, shouting inaudible remarks, allegedly charged her from the row closest to her lectern and sprayed liquid in that direction. The syringe appeared to contain an amber-colored liquid. The Congresswoman ran after Kazmierzak and appeared to be ready to punch him before he was tackled and removed from the North Minneapolis venue. She went on to refuse medical attention, saying that she had been in war-torn countries before. We are Minnesota strong, Omar said, and we will stay resilient in the face of whatever they might throw at us. Kazmierzak, who shared photos supporting President Trump on Facebook, was arrested by the Minneapolis Police Department for third-degree assault. They are processing the liquid to find out exactly what it's involved with, what it is, excuse me. Omar saying, I'm a survivor, so this small agitator isn't going to intimidate me from doing my work. I don't let bullies win. So that came out yesterday. As I said, people saying it's had a sickening odor to it. The people that actually in the room threw up. It smelled like vinegar or ammonia. Nancy Mace, Republican from South Carolina, said, I'm deeply disturbed to learn that Representative Ilhan Omar was attacked at a town hall today. Regardless of how vehemently I disagree with her rhetoric, and I do, no elected official should face physical attacks. That's not who we are. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey called the incident unacceptable and said this kind of behavior will not be tolerated in our city. Violence and intimidation have no place in Minneapolis. We can disagree without putting people at risk. I'm relieved Representative Omar is okay and appreciate MPD for responding quickly. All right. And again, tying it in somehow with Trump. Well, for an example, CNN went to his social media of Anthony Kazmierzak. In 2021, he shared a political cartoon criticizing Omar's stance on security spending amid calls to defund the police. Okay. And in recent months, he added profile pictures expressing support for both Israel and Ukraine. He also reposted transphobic content from conservative commentator Ben Shapiro about transgender athletes. Remember, this is coming from CNN. So any kind of criticism of transgender athletes or how it's been handled in schools is going to be labeled by CNN as transphobic. Then this, after conservative activist Charlie Kirk's death, does not say assassination, but that's exactly what it was, Cameron Zach changed his profile picture to an image of Donald Trump speaking at a Turning Point USA event, later replacing it with a photo of Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk. In September, he wrote on a Turning Point USA local chapter's Facebook page that Charlie Kirk had been in my life for 8 years. I mean, what does this say about the attack? Because he watched and supported Charlie Kirk, that's where they go to. When the shoe is on the other foot and there's agitators and protesters and things like that against a Republican, they don't do a deep dive like this. Now, what we do know about Cameron Zach, he has prior traffic-related offenses, including 2 DUI convictions. He has been married and divorced twice. And there you are. Okay, speaking of Turning Point USA, St. John's University, their student government blocked a bid for a Turning Point USA chapter at their university. The student government of, again, St. John University, one of the largest Catholic universities in the country, denied the application to open a Turning Point chapter months after Kirk was shot dead by a sniper on September 10th. The student government has, quote, sole authority to approve or deny new organizations, according to a university spokesperson. So the university spokesperson kind of throwing the students under the bus on that because they realize the backlash, the potential backlash that this could receive. Clubs or organizations looking to open or revitalize chapters on campus have to pass a 4-round power to organize process. During the fall of 2025 semester, only 4 of 19 proposed organizations successfully navigated the approval process. St. John's students interested in Turning Point USA are encouraged to reapply to SGI in the spring or pursue other existing alternatives for department-sponsored organizational support. Critics said the refusal of St. John's smacks of liberal bias and cancel culture run amok. Bill Donahue of the Catholic League for Religious and Civil Rights said Charlie Kirk was an advocate for civil discourse on campus. That was his trademark. Why any school, especially a Catholic one, would find fault with this boggles the mind. St. John's idea of inclusion clearly extends to the LGBTQ cause, but not the cause of free speech. The alumni at St. John's are known for their commitment to traditional moral values, but in recent years, the school seems to have lost its moorings. They need to speak up, preferably with their wallets. So just a couple of quick updates there that kind of tie in together. Also, because we have so much to get to, yes, I am going to talk about the false story going around, being reported mostly on social media about an ICE detention center in Steuben County that is just not true. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Get everybody up and at 'em, getting ready for their day, and I'll bring that to you here probably in the next break or two, and then we'll repeat it in the 7 o'clock hour as well. But since yesterday we brought to you the examples of nurses saying that they would not give treatment to MAGA supporters, to Trump supporters. It was a very disturbing piece. I believe it was Kristen Fleming that had written that piece. We talked about it pretty extensively. An update, a nurse at Virginia Commonwealth University Health has been fired after making a series of videos suggesting ways to harm ICE agents. So in this example, it's not just not treating someone they disagree with politically. This is actually going out of their way as a nurse to harm an individual. Following an investigation, the individual involved in the social media videos is no longer employed by VCU Health. In addition, VCU Health has fulfilled its reporting requirements under Virginia state law. Now, on Tuesday morning, the hospital said that it and the VCU police were investigating the nurse over the posts after they went viral. I don't want to go through any more of their canned kind of statements. The nurse in question used a now deleted TikTok account and was quickly identified as an employee of VCU Health. In one video, simply captioned ICE-resistant sabotage, the nurse instructed others to use a sabotage tactic against opponents. I thought of something good. Sabotage tactic, or at least scare tactic. All the medical providers grab some syringes with needles on the end, have them full of saline, and then there's another succinylcholine chlorine, whatever, that will probably be a deterrent. Be safe. Now, the Diacylchlorine, which I know I'm not pronouncing right, is an anesthetic that causes rapid, short-acting muscle paralysis. The effects typically last for 4 to 6 minutes. She also, as she was dressed in scrubs, suggested using poison ivy. Okay, for today's resistance tip, so see how full of themselves they are. This goes back to my point that it's all about the likes on social media. It's all about the shares. Don't think for a moment that's not a lot about what this fake, false rumor about the ICE detention center in Steuben is all about. It's about getting the likes. It's about getting more people to join your group. So she has to give her lecture to the world of TikTok by saying, okay, for today's resistance tip, as if people are sitting by their TikTok waiting for the announcement. Anybody got any poison ivy, poison oak in their yard? Get some of that with gloves, obviously, and get it in some water, like a gallon of water, and get the poison ivy oak water, and I'm going to put it in a water gun. Aim for faces and hands. And then hashtag resist. You get the idea. This is how radical many have become, specifically on the left in this scenario. We've talked about it numerous times, but the fanning of the flames by those in Minneapolis, actually Jonathan Turley did a great piece on it that we may get to later on, but in Minnesota and Minneapolis specifically. We got a couple other updates, and we're going to get into more issues of the day. We're just getting started. I know we've covered a lot. We're having fun this morning. We've got a lot of serious topics to discuss, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Ferrari Auto Team.
The best ski resort?
Ask Google.
The best snow removal service?
Ask Google.
The best Jeep dealer?
Ask Google.
We did. Google reviews from customers rank Ferrario Jeep in Elmira the highest Jeep dealer in our area.
If you don't see me, I can't save you any money.
Check out the new Jeeps during the Start Something New sales event.
Visit Ferrario in Elmira or at Ferrario.com.
Did you know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality? And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at IQAirFoundation.org.
This prolonged cold snap will stay with us through the end of this week, even through the weekend. We'll be at 17 degrees for high temperature this afternoon. Under mostly sunny skies, the average high is 34. As we look ahead, we see a few light lake effect snow showers, maybe a few flurries out here this evening. And overnight, more cold air pooling over us, though. We see our temperatures dropping down to 6 below Thursday night. And through the rest of the weekend, finally, maybe some moderation in our temperatures early next week.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. To that viewer that asked about the 4 organizations that St. John's did approve because they would not approve Turning Point USA, I don't have the answer, and I tried to search quickly. I just didn't have enough time during that break, but that's a very fair question. Ted Cruz is urging the United States to arm Iranian protesters as militias threaten total war against America. Ted Cruz writing in a post on Twitter, this is just a quick Iran update. We should be arming the protesters in Iran now. For the Iranian people to overthrow the Ayatollah, a tyrant who routinely chants death to America, would make America much, much safer. For a trusted source in Iran, tell all your friends abroad, everyone you know, there's absolutely nothing else we can do here inside Iran, said an informant. Or I guess informant's not the right person, but right word, but somebody on the ground They're killing people in such ways. They're descending upon people so brutally. They're attacking us in such ways. We've lost so many lives that no one dares go out anymore. They shoot directly with bullets. They kill outright. And even after killing, they come and behead you and do countless other violent things to you. Going out into the streets is literally suicide. It's not about bravery anymore. It's madness. You go out and they shoot you point blank. They don't even ask why you came. They just kill you. There's absolutely no way for us to gather unless we had weapons, unless we are armed like them. Otherwise, they have weapons everywhere. So Ted Cruz suggesting we should arm the protesters in Iran. Now being in all caps. Your thoughts on that? All right, couple of quick, no way to segue, and then we're going to talk about what's happening in Steuben County and this false information that's being spread that there's going to be an ICE detention center where some of the agitators are asking their members, after misleading them about the ICE detention center, asking them to protest at the legislative meeting. We'll talk about that in the next break. But first, Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania's governor, potential presidential candidate for the Democrat Party. He was on The View because he has a new book out, and he was asked about his book. Was it kind of in retaliation to Kamala Harris? Now, Kamala Harris said some pretty nasty things about Josh Shapiro, if you recall, saying, that he wanted to really be president, that he was asking about all the perks that come with being vice president. So Anna Navarro says, Kamala wrote things about you in her book. How do you like that? Just first name basis. Kamala, me my pal Kamala. Kamala wrote things about you in her book that weren't very flattering, like saying you wanted to be co-president on all of these things. Then you and Democrats didn't like it, and she wrote about it, about a bunch of other people on the short list as well. Noting kind of a feud between the two Democrats. Now you're responding and rehashing it all in your book. And so my question, as somebody who wants to move the debate forward and wants to see a Democrat elected to undo all the craziness and bad things that Trump has done, is what's the point? Yeah, why respond to what was a blatant attack by Kamala Harris? Because Kamala Harris is probably still speculating that still thinking about running for president and wants to knock down one of the most prominent potential candidates for president in the Democratic Party. So why did you respond? I don't want to read what, because Shapiro's already called him blatant lies. He argued the book is dishy. I didn't view my book as a response. In fact, I finished that before I ever read hers, so it's hardly a response. I wanted to make sure that I was being forthright with people about what I went through, how I processed these decisions. As I said a moment ago, getting the chance to speak about this for the first time in what is otherwise a process that's pretty closed. And to me, this wasn't about dishing respectfully. It was just more about how we went through the process, what I thought, what I felt coming out of it. And I hope the story there shows that I'm someone who is driven to serve, and to serve in a way that will still allow me to be a good dad, a good husband, and have an impact on people's life. That was my focus. But you are right that continuing to look backwards is not the answer. We've got to look forward, and that's why I write about the stories of the people that I've met along the way who have inspired me to serve and make an impact going forward. I think we have some unbelievably talented Democrats in our party. I think we have some amazing governors and members of Congress, mayors, and others who do great things. By the way, Philip Glass, has canceled his Kennedy Center Symphony premiere in a protest of Trump's leadership. Prize-winning composer Philip Glass has called off his scheduled world premiere at the Kennedy Center of a symphony about Abraham Lincoln, the latest in a wave of cancellations since Trump ousted the previous leadership. Glass Symphony No. 15, Lincoln, was to have been led by Grammy-winning conductor Karen Kemzek for performances on June 12th and 13th. Glass said in a statement, Symphony No. 15 is a portrait of Abraham Lincoln, and the values of the Kennedy Center today are in direct conflict with the message of the symphony. Therefore, I feel an obligation to withdraw the symphony premiere from the Kennedy Center under its current leadership. Now, Roma Derivi, the center's vice president of public relations, said we have no place for politics in the arts, and those calling for boycotts based on politics are making the wrong decision. Glass, who turns 89 on Saturday, was a Kennedy Center honoree in 2018. 3 years later, he was awarded a National Medal of Arts by then-President Barack Obama. All right. Do we want to go through the other ones of people that canceled? Big deal. They get their headline for a day, not even with so much going on. All right. We've got a couple We got a couple of quick things. You want to hear something radical? So we talk about the agitators. We talk about the kind of the far left and the threat of violence. We know President Trump had at least two assassination attempts on his life. Listen to how this guy is trying to make a name for himself and how he's trying to get some attention for his campaign. Ohio Democrat Attorney General candidate Elliot Foran, Ohio Democrat Attorney General candidate, has a video in which he says, quote, "I am going to kill Donald Trump," end quote. In a video making rounds on X, which Foran says, quote, "I'm going to obtain conviction rendered by a jury of his peers at a standard of proof beyond reasonable doubt, based on evidence presented at trial, conducted in accordance with due process, resulting in a sentence duly executed of capital punishment. That is what I mean when I say I'm going to kill Donald Trump." That is a candidate for Ohio Attorney General running on the Democratic ticket. How low can you go to try to get a name for yourself? And really, at this time, at a time when the president has had at least two assassination attempts on his life, that is how you try to make headways. So again, when they try to talk about this kind of radicalism, look where it is coming from. But you have media that is fanning the flames of this. The New York Times has a piece out today. Trump administration's social media posts echoes white supremacist message. A flurry of posts from the White House, Department of Labor, and Department of Homeland Security have included images, slogans, and even a song used by the white nationalist right. Now we know they get to define what that means, and we've seen that time and time again. We can talk more about that in the media bias, but I've got two quick Trump updates, and then we're going to talk about Steuben County. No, let's talk about Steuben County. No, because then it ties in with what's happening in Minnesota and Minneapolis. All right, stay with us. Two quick things, and then we'll be talking about what's happening at Steuben County and that false rumor, that false story about an ICE detention center coming our way. We'll talk about it when we return. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
New York State nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lee Com Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
Then I realized the more you bundle, the more you save on insurance with Liberty Liberty.
It's like you're talking my love language.
Well, I've been taking word classes online.
Wow.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at CASA.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Sorry, I had a frog in my throat, so I want to grab some water. All right, let's go to some viewer comments as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer: there was a time when I thought Philip Glass was a musical genius. Now I find his work truly tedious, mechanical, and repetitive. No great loss of him withdrawing from the Kennedy Center performance. Comment from a different viewer: we may need to open up TDS syndrome centers across the United States. That's, of course, in reference to a candidate saying that, the Attorney General candidate in Ohio, saying and trying to be provocative and saying, because of how we'd go through the court system, I'm paraphrasing, that it would be his way of killing Donald Trump, which is just despicable. But Ken has a very good point. We saw the new Virginia Attorney General get elected after threatening to kill a competitor and wishing their kids dead. That's a very good point, Ken. So I guess that is the playbook now. Let's talk about this because I want to talk about it in the 7 o'clock hour too. And then I have 2 Trump updates, and then we'll talk about Minneapolis and Minnesota. If you use social media at all, you may have saw the rumor that there was going to be a ICE detention center in Steuben County. That is completely false. On Wednesday, January 28th, today, this is from our friends at the Hornell Sun, the Steuben County Legislature will meet at 10 a.m. in Bath for a normal public meeting. Part of the agenda for that meeting is a request from Sheriff Jim Allard to renew an agreement with the federal government to house federal prisoners in the Steuben County Jail. That agreement has been in place. This is important. That agreement has been in place for over 30 years, according to County Chair Kelly Fitzpatrick. Legislators will vote to extend the agreement for 3 more years, effective February 1st, 2026. Public unease surrounding the meeting and the request from the sheriff due to national news surrounding immigration and customs enforcement, ICE. Several concerned readers have asked the Hornell Sun to inquire about the county creating an ICE detention center. Well, and I'm glad they published this, put it into perspective, but we're going to read the statement released by the sheriff and Kelly Fitzpatrick and others. But where I saw it is, I actually had people reach out to me, quite a few people reach out to me, but also I started to see it on social media. And you can tell it's these organizations and these groups that you may see every week here on Market Street protesting. You may see more than once a week. They're trying to get their numbers up to because it will get attention. If they're at a legislative meeting and they have duped enough people to believe that there's an ICE detention center, no matter what, and trust me, when I read the comments, you have to put it down. You have to put the social media down, because when you read the comments, it doesn't matter what is said, when they are presented with facts, does not matter. I saw one person comment essentially, well, I don't believe any of our leaders anyway. But you believe the leaders of a far radical group that is pushing uncited information, which is just that there's going to be an ICE detention, the most extreme position they could say, and say there's going to be an ICE detention center, and you believe them over the elected leaders who have proven themselves in the past. But the Hornell Sun says, based on the conversations they had, the Steuben County is not seeking to create a dedicated facility for holding ICE detainees. The Steuben County Jail has been paid by the federal government to hold any federal prisoner from the U.S. Marshal, FBI, ICE, or any federal law enforcement agency for over 30 years. This new agreement would increase their per diem payment per prisoner to Steuben County to $130. Now, thank you to the Hornell Sun for including this in their piece. In an interview last week on Big Fox, Frankly Speaking, Sheriff Allard was asked about county cooperation with federal authorities. Allard made it clear that this was a long-standing cooperative agreement and that he had had good understandings in place with the regional ICE commander. Allard told host Frank Acom, I don't want an incident in Steuben County where someone gets hurt. I had a chat with the supervisor for ICE in this region, who I talk to every now and then. He's telling me that if they don't open the door, we're going to bust a window in the car. I said to him, you're not going to do that here. That's not how we work here, and we'll be here to help you, because we're not. And thank you for including that. I appreciate that, to the Hornell Sun. But that's what's happening in Minneapolis, where you don't have local law enforcement helping, and it's causing this powder keg, where you have, and that's why some of the, for lack of a better word, demands that Trump has laid out to Walz and Frey is that you have to cooperate with ICE. So there isn't this kind of, ICE is not trained to be, to stop protests, not stop protests, non-peaceful protests. Let me reword that because I can't wait to hear how people react to that. But non-peaceful protests, when you start to talk about that violence and that aggression, that is not their job. Their job is to apprehend the illegal criminals, and that's why it's so, I think, important that Tom Homan is getting involved. But local Democrats have notified, this is important, this is from the Hornell Sun. Local Democrats have notified party members about the meeting and have echoed the facts stated by Chairwoman Fitzpatrick. Quote, contrary to some reports, the agreement does not authorize the construction of an ICE detention facility in Steuben. So again, this was presented in a way to kind of build the numbers of these far left groups so they would protest at the legislature, get that media coverage, and then look as if, they're getting as much attention as some of the national scene. But this is the message that Hornell Democrats sent earlier amid the concerns. Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard is seeking approval from the Steuben County Legislature to sign an updated intergovernment agreement that allows federal prisoners, including ICE detainees, to be housed in the Steuben County Jail. The updated agreement will increase the per diem rate that the county charges the federal government. Contrary to some reports, the agreement does not authorize the construction of an ICE detention facility in Steuben County. A resolution on the agreement will be discussed during the Steuben County Legislature meeting on Wednesday, January 28th at 10 a.m. at the Steuben County Annex. Okay, that's what they sent out. But again, because these people don't want to do the research, don't want to get the facts, what they have done is depend on the leaders and the organizers of these kind of these radical groups and believe them wholly. They believe, and that's what's so troubling in this. I saw, again, anecdotally, people posting on social media this idea that non-political people, that this idea that there's going to be a nice detention center, and then to see the comments. I do not know. We have some people on the ground that I will find out from, but I do not know how many people will attend at today's legislative meeting. It is, what did I say, at 10 a.m.? Well, let me be accurate. Yeah, 10 a.m. in Bath, their normal public meeting. So we'll see what those numbers look like. Oh, a comment from a viewer. Never thought my question to Sheriff Allard would make the news. Well, you sure did. You're making the rounds. It has become a critical part to this story. It really has, the Frankly Speaking interview. When we return, I'm going to read you the statement made by Sheriff Allard, Kelly Fitzpatrick, Jeff Horton, and Jack Wheeler. When we return, then we've got some other issues. I am going to repeat that in the 7 o'clock hour because I think it's important to know the truth. Now, whether or not you want to go to a legislative meeting, that's fine. Do whatever you want. You want to go to a legislative meeting and still say you don't like ICE, go for it. But do not come in with false information, lies being told to you by the powers that be in your protest groups. That's all I'm saying. Don't come out looking foolish because you didn't do the research yourself. We got to take a break, though. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Insurance companies don't make money by paying claims. They make money by denying them. They hire doctors to say you're not that hurt. They bring in lawyers to chip away at your case. They stall, they argue, they cut corners, because every dollar they save is another dollar of profit. At WYDC Injury Law, we know their tactics, and we fight back with facts and evidence. If you've been injured in New York or Pennsylvania, call 607-500-HURT. Don't let the insurance companies control your story.
This prolonged cold snap will stay with us through the end of this week, even through the weekend. We'll be at 17 degrees for high temperature this afternoon. Under mostly sunny skies, the average high is 34. As we look ahead, we see a few light lake effect snow showers, maybe a few flurries out here this evening. And overnight, more cold air pooling over us, though. We see our temperatures dropping down to 6 below Thursday night. And through the rest of the weekend, finally, maybe some moderation in our temperatures early next week.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, getting ready to wrap up our number one we were talking about. And we're going to talk about it more in the next hour. But the false information coming out that there's going to be an ICE detention center in Steuben County. The Democrats, Hornell Democrats, came out and said that's not true. But there's still... these groups of protests once, twice, 3 times a week. They're trying to fan the flame so they can get big turnout, so they'll get the coverage, they'll get the attention. Because remember, this is at a national level too, where the most important thing is to get the coverage. So unfortunately, we heard from Democrats, this is probably 6 months ago, saying that there's actually constituents calling them and saying they wanted them to go to these detention centers and get beat up or get attacked so that they can make the news, so it can draw attention to it. Now, I'm not suggesting that's what they want to do with the legislature. I'm just saying they want the coverage. So they want to show up, and if there's just 2 of them, not going to get coverage. But if they can convince people through a lie that there's going to be an ICE detention center and get 30, 40 people, then they might get the attention they want. And at the end of the day, they still get to get their selfie, and they get to get their social media post so that they can get all the likes from their echo chamber. This is what Sheriff Jim Allard, Chair of the Steuben County Legislature Kelly Fitzpatrick, County Legislator Jeff Horton, the Chair of Public Safety and Corrections Committee, and Jack Wheeler, County Manager, had to say to the residents of Steuben County. County officials have been made aware of questions and concerns of some residents regarding a resolution on the agenda for tomorrow's meeting. That meeting is today. This was sent out yesterday. Meeting of the county legislature, authorizing the sheriff to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the United States Marshal Services for the housing of federal prisoners at the Steuben County Jail. To be clear, Steuben County has entered into the same agreement with the U.S. Marshal Service for well over 2 decades. Like other counties throughout the state and nation, there are times where there is sufficient capacity in the jail to house inmates for other government entities, including counties, New York State, and federal government. In such cases, federal prisoners are held while awaiting transit to court appearances or placement in a federal facility. For providing these services, the county is paid a daily rate per federal inmate, which helps offset costs of the jail. We are all aware of the challenging circumstances happening across the nation in relation to immigration enforcement. We have the utmost respect for our residents and the questions you all have regarding partnership with the federal government. This agreement absolutely does not create an ICE detention center, as some have suggested. This agreement is not new, nor does it expand the scope of this partnership. It continues operations as they have been for many years. We appreciate the feedback from residents and wanted to provide clarity on the topic. So there you go. All right, keep those comments coming in. We're going to wrap up hour number 1 when we return.
New York State is putting nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, the Finger Lake standouts for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lecom Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
A concert of diva showstoppers featuring a Glinda and Elphaba from the Broadway company of Wicked.
Quite as popular.
Good Witch Bad Witch has been thrilling audiences coast to coast with their stunning vocals and playful banter. Good Witch Bad Witch, February 5th at the Clemens Center in downtown Elmira. Tickets at clemencencenter.org.
This prolonged cold snap will stay with us through the end of this week, even through the weekend. We'll be at 17 degrees for high temperature this afternoon. Under mostly sunny skies, the average high is 34. As we look ahead, we see a few light lake effect snow showers, maybe a few flurries out here this evening. And overnight, more cold air pooling over us, though. We see our temperatures dropping down to 6 below Thursday night. And through the rest of the weekend, finally, maybe some moderation in our temperatures early next week.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We're going to wrap up this hour with a couple of positive stories, depending on what perspective you have. And then we'll get into the news of the day, some more news of the day in the next hour. Also, we're going to hear from Ali Mazi, from Good Witch, Bad Witch in the next hour. So in Iowa, President Donald Trump paused during a restaurant stop. He's in Iowa already starting the campaign for the midterms. He stopped and paused during a restaurant meeting in Iowa after a patron asked if he could pray for him ahead of the president's remarks near Des Moines. Video shared on X by White House aide Margot Martin shows a moment unfolding inside the Machine Shed restaurant where a man from the crowd addressed Trump directly. "Can I pray for you real quick?" Trump saying, "Absolutely, come on, let's go." Bowing his head as the man began to pray. The brief prayer thanked God for the president and asked for wisdom, discernment, peace, and protection as others in the restaurant joined in. Saying, "Lord God, we give thanks for this president. Lord, thank you for him and the potential. Thank you for your continuing wisdom. We pray for discernment, pray for hope. We pray for more peace, Lord." The prayer from the restaurant patron drew several amens from the surrounding crowd. What a nice unscripted moment that occurred in Des Moines. Okay. In a statement released by the Trump administration, Trump encouraged Americans to pray for the nation and its people, saying the country has long been sustained and strengthened by prayer. Okay. Also, speaking of Trump, a state representative in Georgia has filed a resolution. Now, this piece, a little biased, saying an oddball resolution, pushing to rename a mountain outside of Atlanta for President Trump. Swanee Mountain, which sits on a nearly 1,000-acre preserve just 50 miles outside of Georgia's capital, is currently named after a celebrated Native American chief. But the proposal from Republican State Representative David Clark seeks to rename the landmark and call it Trump Mountain, which sounds like one of the attractions at Disney World. The preserve is named after a Cherokee chief who aided many of the first settlers in the greater Atlanta area throughout the 19th century, according to a plaque near the mountain. I'm not going to go through the whole rest of it. Clark took a contrarian stance and insisted that renaming the mountain would recognize the historic significance of President Donald J. Trump's leadership and legacy. In the resolution, Clark explained that Swanee Mountain was chosen to commemorate the town hall Trump hosted during his 2024 presidential campaign. That's why they're renaming it? Last year, Trump supporters pushed to have his face carved into the side of Mount Rushmore alongside Lincoln, Washington, Jefferson, and Roosevelt. So Georgia state lawmaker moving to name Swanee Mountain after President Trump, Trump Mountain. All right, that does it for hour number one. We're moving along quickly. I don't know how we're going to get to all the topics we need to discuss in hour number two. Keep those comments coming in. Keep those discussions coming in and the waves, and we will be, if you have any more questions about what's happening in Steuben County and it's not happening, there is no ICE detention center coming. I cannot make that more crystal clear. Democrats are saying it. The elected leaders are saying it, but it is some fringe radical groups that want to get big numbers at their protests, saying the opposite, pushing to their followers, if you will, lies to bolster their number and bolster what they deem their popularity. It's typical of kind of the social media culture and the me protest culture that we've been seeing more of as of late. But we got a lot to get to. Stay with us. Hour number one in the books. Hour number two, moments away.
Don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
This prolonged cold snap will stay with us through the end of this week, even through the weekend. We'll be at 17 degrees for high temperature this afternoon. Under mostly sunny skies, the average high is 34. As we look ahead, we see a few light lake effect snow showers, maybe a few flurries out here this evening. And overnight, more cold air pooling over us, though. We see our temperatures dropping down to 6 below Thursday night. And through the rest of the weekend, finally, maybe some moderation in our temperatures early next week.
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. We're going to talk here about Minneapolis. We learned a little bit yesterday, and again, we will talk again about Steuben County and the false information that is being spread about an ICE detention center coming to our area that is not happening. We learned yesterday that Alex Preddy broke a rib in a confrontation with federal agents just a week before his death, according to, of all places, CNN. It's unclear how Preddy first came to the attention of federal authorities, but sources told CNN that about a week before his death, he suffered a broken rib when a group of federal officers tackled him while he was protesting their attempt to detain other individuals. In a statement, the Department of Homeland Security said that DHS law enforcement has no record of this incident. Anyway, he was known to the feds and had a rib broken in an anti-ICE protest. We also learned that 2 DHS agents shot during the fatal encounter in Minneapolis. 2 federal immigration officials discharged their weapons in the fatal shooting of armed anti-ICE protester Alex Preddy in Minneapolis over the weekend, according to a preliminary Department of Homeland Security review of the incident. And we know it goes through the specifics of the guns and things like that. Now, top White House aide Stephen Miller, who is, CNN puts it as hardline immigration enforcer, however you want to word it. He is pretty strong in his convictions. He said that the officials were evaluating why Customs and Border Protection agents in Minneapolis, quote, may not have been following proper protocol before the fatal shooting of Preddy. Josh Shapiro, who we talked about earlier with his new book, Governor Josh Shapiro, said that the Minnesota officials should charge the Border Patrol agents with voluntary manslaughter. This was on MSN Now. Josh Shapiro, potential presidential candidate for the Democrat Party, said, I mean, this is not okay what we're seeing, and we need to stand up to it. I would also just stay, and I base this only on publicly available video and information that I've seen. I do not have the background that Attorney General Ellison has in Minnesota, but based on what I saw of the killing of Mr. Preddy, I charge voluntary manslaughter in that case. I would charge obstruction of justice. If the federal government was coordinating the effort to obstruct justice and to destroy the crime scene, I charge conspiracy. I mean, I think we have to be very serious about not only a state investigation, but to follow where it leads to bring charges even against federal officials if they are warranted. Now, Tom Homan, the border czar, revealed that he met with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, as well as other law enforcement officials, adding that the meetings were a productive starting point. Homan explained that they had discussed the issues on the ground in Minnesota, and that he pointed out that President Trump has been clear that he wants American cities to be safe and secure for law-abiding residents. Tweeting out, today I met with Governor Walz, Mayor Frey, and top law enforcement officials to discuss the issues on the ground in Minnesota. We all agree that we need to support our law enforcement officers and get criminals off the street. While we don't agree on everything, these meetings were a productive starting point, and I look forward to more conversations with key stakeholders in the days ahead. Now, Homan spoke well of the meeting, but did not mention anything about agreements or concessions that have been made. Now, Governor Tim Walz, who was at that meeting with Homan, was on CNN's Anderson Cooper. And wow, thank you for all these comments coming in. Well, let's go to them. A couple comments from viewers before we move on. I did a search for those 4 new organizations at St. John's. And if you are just joining us, St. John's University, they voted not to allow Turning Point USA be an organization at their Catholic university. But they said throughout the whole year, the process is so difficult. There was only about 4 organizations, new organizations that went through the process. But as this viewer says, could not find anything. Have to wonder about that fact. Yes, would like to know that information. It seems newsworthy. You know what? It's too tough to read these live. I'll read them in the next segment. I see a lot of great things, great comments coming in. I'll read them in the next segment, okay, which is only a few moments away. Governor Tim Walz said there was a tone shift during the meeting with Border Czar Tom Homan. Well, Tom is a professional. This is Tim Walz, which is a lot more than Bovino and Kristi Noem. But look, I think the thing we said is we're very clear about this, that we need these folks out of Minnesota, and we need justice for Renee Good and for Alex. And those were those things that we came with. I think the thing that I'm most concerned about is the tone was different. There's a tone shift. I wish it was because of the horrific, shooting that somebody saw some morality, but I think it's probably the press. But with that being said, I'm not interested in a more efficient metro surge. I'm ready for them to get out of here. And I think that's where Minnesotans are talking what they're talking about. So it was progress. Trump did lament the shooting deaths of Good and Preddy. It was terrible. Both of them were terrible. I hate to see it. I hate to see that. Bovino is very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of guy. And in some cases, that's not good. Maybe it wasn't good here. Tom is fantastic, meaning Tom Homan. Tom is a tough guy, but I've watched over the years, and he's gotten along with governors, and he gets along with mayors. Some people don't. Some people just want to do their jobs and leave me alone. Trump said he plans to de-escalate immigration enforcement operations in Minnesota, but stressed the personnel changes do not mean a retreat. I don't think it's a pullback. It's a little bit of a change. Now, what's important to know, they are referring to this. The media wants to use this somehow. They want ICE out of there, and at the same time, they want to criticize Trump for taking ICE out of there. One reason I think probably here Trump used the term retreat. That was used extensively yesterday. Some are saying, though, he's blaming Bovino. They're trying to, and Ken had a good point yesterday, where they're trying to make it a taco situation. If you're not familiar with that, it's Trump always chickens out. So they hate the tariffs, but then when Trump changes the tariffs, they say that he's chickening out. That's what they're trying. The message is going to try to be here as he talks about kind of a personnel shuffle, but it's not a pullback. The president has stuck with Kristi Noem. Their Democrats are trying to push for impeachment of Kristi Noem. There has been a lot of negative coverage. We know that she was essentially moved and reshuffled, to use that term, to Homan is taking her place. And so people thought maybe her final days in the Trump administration were numbered. We're going to de-escalate a little bit, Trump said. Noem, fighting for her political life, asked for an Oval Office meeting with the president on Monday evening. Well, and that was interesting because it was depending on what news outlet you saw there, too. They said that Noem begs for a meeting to kind of ease her worried mind. And Trump has said that he's going to, that Kristi Noem is staying put. Noem made her case with her top advisor and former trusted Trump campaign aide Corey Lewandowski at her side. Trump focused on the optics following the latest death of Preddy. As Washington, D.C. was pelted with 7 inches of snow on Sunday, he was inside the White House monitoring more video angles of the shooting and raising questions about Noem's assessment, which, remember, at the time she called domestic terrorism. Trump wanted a change on the ground, pulling back Noem's Border Patrol commander, Gregory Bovino, from the state, saying his hard-charging tactics may not have been good here. Their meeting lasted nearly 2 hours as she made her case. Also, the meeting where Carolyn Levitt, Stephen Chang, Susie Wiles. Notably missing was Stephen Miller. Noem reportedly blames Miller for the stance that DHS took after Preddy's death, saying it was his idea to label Preddy an assassin. Everything I've done on the direction of the president and Stephen, Noem told a person, who then told the remarks to Axios. I don't want to go through all this because it's a lot of speculation or a lot of anonymous sources. But as of right now, it looks like Trump is sticking with Noem. What is your thought on that? Do you think Noem's days are numbered? Now, I think this is a fair statement. Noem always kind of looking for numbers, how many people she can arrest, where Tom Homan is more kind of nuanced, where he is going for the illegal immigrants that have criminal records or have deportation orders. Noem was really, I think, I'm talking about her like she's not there anymore, but seems to be more focused on just the overall number. But Hill Democrats and even some Republicans, as is typical, plotted the exit for Noem, talking about impeachment. In a joint statement, the top 3 House Democrats announced that they would soon support a vote to impeach Noem, which they could trigger without any GOP support unless Trump immediately moved to fire her following the fatal shooting of Alex Preddy. And 2 moderate Republicans, the names that are pretty much always going to go against Trump, Lisa Murkowski and Thom Tillis. Thom Tillis is retiring. He's from North Carolina. In an extraordinary step for House Democrat leaders, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and his team issued a blunt statement threatening impeachment after weeks of trying to steer their members away from such talk, which they saw largely as a distraction given the GOP's fierce loyalty to the president. Now, I do think this is interesting because the left, the Democrats, are using this, and we had that piece yesterday that they're trying to kind of get ahead of themselves, where right now, even if they shut down the government, that could be a negative when they are, in many people's minds, especially the media, winning the kind of the media message or the PR of it, because no one likes to see what we've seen in those videos with Preddy and Good. So they're media-wise, just on pure politics here, folks, media-wise, their message is coming through clear, meaning the Democrats, but then they're kind of getting, for lack of a better term, too big for their britches, and they're trying for, that's why originally they were against impeachment, and now they're for it, though, and this idea of shutting down the government because of it. In their letter, they said taxpayer dollars are being weaponized by the Trump administration to kill American citizens, brutalize communities, and violently target law-abiding immigrant families. The country is disgusted by what the Department of Homeland Security has done. They charged in the scathing statement that painted the pair of recent deaths in Minnesota as an immoral killing spree. Now, again, you've got to boil this down, and there is, however you want to talk about it, and we'll tie it in locally in a weird way. Not really, but we are going to talk about the false information about the Steuben County ICE detention facility, which there is not going to be one. We'll talk about that probably when we return in the next break. But what that does, and Sheriff Allard addressed it on the program on Friday, and you can find that at our YouTube page or WYDC TV, Big Fox, to work with ICE. ICE is not out there to stop these riots and these mob scenes. That's not what their training's for. That's not what their job is. So it causes incidents where they're not in the right scenario at the right time. That's why local law enforcement should have been there from the beginning. But of course, Walz and others have pulled that back. So that has caused this kind of powder keg. We're going to talk more about it when we return, but Senator John Fetterman called on Trump to fire Noem, and Fetterman's been very good about ICE, but saying that he's one of the only Democrats that supports ICE. But he said, I make a direct appeal to immediately fire Secretary Noem. Americans have died. She's betraying DHS's core mission and trashing your border security legacy. Your thoughts on that as well. But Fetterman did say on Newsmax, I'd like to remind people, and actually my colleague from Kentucky pointed out, ICE already has all of their money. So that vote is really largely symbolic. This is that DHS vote that could cause the government shutdown on January 30th because it's not going to defund. And again, I also, as a Democrat, am one of the rare Democrats saying, do not abolish ICE. That's just stupid. That's outrageous to think those kinds of things. He added that if the DHS funding bill is unbundled from the other funding bills, that's going to change the dynamic. But if that doesn't happen, that would almost guarantee that we will shut our government down, and I would find myself unwilling to not pay our military and damage other parts of our government, especially to remind people that this is not going to change the situation with ICE at that point, which is a very important message to send. We're going to read your comments when we come back. My goodness, I'm running late. After this next segment, where we're going to recap what's happening in Steuben County, we're going to hear from Aline Mazzi. She is in the production coming to the Clemens Center, Good Witch, Bad Witch. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
This isn't your father's library. Create with the 3D printer. Release your inner audio engineer or sewing machine riddles, all with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Some call for more than a drink. They call for a scotch. Rich, patient, crafted over time. Every bottle tells a story.
Yeah, I'll take it. Bit drafty in here.
Foster's. Elevate your spirits.
Sophia A., grade 4, absent, because transportation was absent.
Julio M., grade 6, absent, because Wi-Fi was absent.
Maria J., grade 12, absent, because childcare for siblings was absent.
Jacob O., grade 12, absent, because housing was absent.
Aisha S.,
Olivia H.
Darren L.
Cole W.
Preston L.
Absent.
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 Because healthcare, anti-bullying,
Mental health support was absent.
we're calling roll on the 15 million absent students.
Their reasons why are very real.
And yet the solution is a present, caring adult to help them along their path.
When communities and schools is present, 99% of our students are present and ready to learn.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Just a few moments, we're going to hear all about Good Witch, Bad Witch, but we have so many comments to get to. Thank you, as always, for all the amazing comments. First up, I and all my friends are turning in our season tickets for the Trump Kennedy Center. We are going to the NFL Pro game, the Pro Bowl game, to support Sauter Sanders instead. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his first name right. Yes, I understand that's how much the Pro Bowl game has deteriorated through the years, that some of the bigger stars not making it. We'll put it that way. But I am sorry. I'm sure the Trump Kennedy Center is sorry to hear that. And of course, earlier in the program, we were talking about Bill Belichick. We're not a sports program by any means, but Bill Belichick not getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame on the first ballot. Your thoughts on that? We had some very clever comments on that. Ken writes in, did you see that someone threw a liquid on Ilhan Omar as she was speaking in front of a group? I have to say, if I was a betting man, I would bet the farm on the idea that she staged the disruption herself, having someone throw water on her shirt in an attempt to make it look like Trump's comments about her are putting her life in danger. Well, I do know they arrested somebody. It's kind of was breaking news last night. We talked about it a little bit in the 6 o'clock hour. There was an arrest. They have painted the person with the arrest, to your point, tying him with some social media posts supporting Trump. I guess, yeah. There'll be more to that story. Wouldn't we like to know at some point? I know New York Times was reporting that an investigation started under the Biden administration, but then kind of fizzled out. I wonder about that, why it fizzled out. But wouldn't it be nice to know how Ilhan Omar got that went from broke to $30 million? That's unrelated. I don't agree with attacking anybody. That's why I think it is a bad idea to hold in-person town hall meetings, because the left has pushed this so bad that we've seen this happen. Now, I know Ilhan Omar's a Democrat, but what I'm saying is in most instances you have people screaming down the congressman. We have these lies being pushed that there's an ICE detention center and coming to Steuben County so that they can get bigger groups of protesters. It's a weird protest time. It's a weird divided time right now. So I guess if you want to have your town hall meeting, you can, but there's obviously safety issues. And that, I think, is a major concern. But she said, I'm not scared, and she looked like she was going to punch the guy and all that. But just from Democrat or Republican, I just don't. I think it's good to talk to your constituents. I don't know if in person is good right at this time. Mark writes in, Tim Walz is just a puppet for the Democrat Party. If he would let the police work with ICE, they would be out of there a lot quicker. I agree, and it would be the safety aspect to it. That's what's so frustrating with this, that ICE agents are not trained to quash protests and violent riot protests. But no, they made it political from the beginning, fanned the flames even further, and now, I don't know, are using it as a political tool. It's just frustrating. It's hard to come together with the right words. Comment from a different viewer. Yet again, the media says I'm fed up with Homeland Security. I love what the DHS is doing, and I'm tired of the left. Why doesn't the media report that? I'm sick and tired of those losers telling me how I feel. Thank you very much. Comment from Steve, who says, good morning. Good morning, Steve. How about Josh Shapiro figures out the law that can hold politicians accountable for refusing to participate and assist in the removal of illegal aliens that are going north, and more than create crimes that would never exist if they were never allowed to become part of the communities that are doing nothing but protecting them. And that is in reference to what Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, would charge the ICE agents with. How about Mayor Frey is held accountable for once again flat out saying he refuses to work with federal immigration in assisting to help remove criminal aliens? How is that even possible? In other words, they will continue to add fuel to the fire, and then you tend that it's the agent's fault for what happens out on the streets. Thank you very much, Steve. And finally, in this section, hi, Frank. Well, hi. My husband and I watch you from Athens, Pennsylvania. We love your show. Well, thank you very much. And hope all is well in Athens, Pennsylvania. Glad to have you here. We always are happy to have friends from Pennsylvania. We talk about your governor quite a bit, as you know. But thank you for joining us. I love that. Okay. Let me just wrap this up again because it's a public service announcement. I know it sounds almost ridiculous at this point. It must be made known that Steuben County is not going to build an ICE detention center. This is a deal that's been ongoing for 30 years. This deal, and let me explain it to you just quickly. It is an agreement with the federal government to house federal prisoners in the Steuben County Jail. That agreement has been in place for over 30 years, according to our good friend Kelly Fitzpatrick. Legislators will vote to extend the agreement for 3 more years today. Now, there's kind of these far-left fringe groups, not fringe, I guess you can't say anymore, on social media calling for protests at the legislative meeting today at 10 a.m. In Bath. Again, this is not an ICE detention center. It is not. It's the farthest from it. They're pushing lies to dupe you. So please, if you have a problem with what's going to be voted on at the legislature, by all means. But don't make up what's actually happening to get people outraged. The Hornell Sun did some great reporting on this, our good friends at the Hornell Sun, and they said that the local Democrats have even notified their party members about the meeting and have echoed the facts stated by Chairwoman Fitzpatrick. Quote, contrary to some reports, the agreement does not authorize the construction of an ICE detention facility in Steuben County. Also, I'd like to thank our good friends at the Hornell Sun and Wellsville Sun, which you can find at hornellsun.com, I believe it is. Thank you for sharing our clip from Sheriff Allard from our interview last Friday. If you have not seen the full interview, we do talk about ICE, a little bit in relationship to what we're talking about in this instance, but again, we appreciate them sharing the video. I can read that full statement for you again, but we don't really have time. I can send it to you if you'd like, but this coming from Jim Allard, Kelly Fitzpatrick, Jeff Horton, and Jack Wheeler. We are all aware of the challenging circumstances happening across the nation in relations to immigration enforcement. We have the utmost respect for our residents and the questions you will have regarding partnership with the federal government. This agreement absolutely does not create an ICE detention center, as some have suggested. The agreement is not new, nor does it expand the scope of this partnership. It continues operation as they have been for many years. So we'll see how that vote went. We'll see if they're protesters. But again, if you have to be a part of a protest group where the leaders have to lie to you to get you to attend a legislative meeting, maybe reassess, regroup, think about if there's other ways that you can spend your precious time, maybe volunteering for a charitable organization, doing good for the community, and not being duped by people that obviously have an agenda to try to get the numbers up so they can get media attention, get more likes and such on social media. Taking a break. When we come back, we're going to learn all about Good Witch, Bad Witch. After that, we're going to read your comments because there's a ton of them coming in. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
MAF stands for the Modular Airborne Firefighting System. We fly assisting the U.S. Forest Service in their firefighting efforts.
Tanker 05, I need a drop on my location.
The fire retardant that we drop establishes a fire containment line so the fire doesn't burn through it.
It helps out the guys on the ground who are actually building trench lines, hand lines.
Outstanding job, 05. Thank you very much.
Most recently, we've had some fires out here in Colorado. We've also been deployed to several other areas, including California.
Saving property, saving lives. Start your adventure with the Air Force Reserve.
It's great to catch up, Jamie. How's business?
Good. Are you up to speed with the new beneficial ownership reporting requirements?
Sort of. What's it about?
It's a new initiative to help fight crimes like money laundering, fraud, and drug trafficking. A lot of small businesses like ours just have to report some basic info to the federal government about the real people behind them.
Does that include my cafe?
There are some exemptions for certain companies, but don't worry. There's lots of guidance on the government's website about who needs to file. Check out fincen.gov/BOI. Filing is easy and free. It took me less than 20 minutes.
Looks like I do have to file. Thanks, Jamie. It's great having a supportive business community.
Reporting beneficial ownership information helps protect U.S. national security. Filing is quick, secure, and free. And it's the law. Learn more at fincen.gov/.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that Zoom version of the studio, we're talking Good Witch, Bad Witch. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Hey, thanks so much. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about Good Witch, Bad Witch.
Well, please do. Tell us all about it. First off, the easy question, are you the good or the bad witch?
Well, we talk about that. We let the audience decide. But you know what it really is, it's Good Witch, Bad Witch, right? So it's a little play on the musical Wicked. I played Glinda in Wicked on Broadway. My friend and Elphaba, Nicole Parker, she played Elphaba on Broadway. And we kind of just, it's a play on those words. We're those witches, you know? But it's also like a total like fun celebration of so many iconic women that we love to celebrate, whether it's pop, opera, like a little Phantom of the Opera that I sing, or like some disco and stuff. We celebrate all sorts of like divas that we love. And of course, those witches in Wicked. We celebrate those, and we talk about those witches at the end of the show and tell you all sorts of fun stories about our time doing Wicked on Broadway. So it's like a fun evening to like celebrate like iconic women and divas that we love, you know?
And what went into the selection of the music that was like picked for it?
I mean, we definitely want to like a range, right? There's so many like women that we love so much, so it's like it's not like we can fit everybody in, right?
Of course.
So like we hit some of like we definitely were like we're gonna choose a lot of like showstoppers, right? So we have like Barbra Streisand, Liza Minnelli, like I said, like Fan of the Opera, like a little Christine Daae for me, and then Nicole is gonna do a very iconic number because I don't know if y'all know, but Nicole Parker has a big background in improv, and so she does a lot of impressions, and she's bringing a lot of women with her for one song in particular.
Oh, that's cool.
And so she's gonna do a little Joan Rivers and Celine Dion and Adele all in one song. It's very fun. We kind of like, use like our strengths that we bring to the table as well as like stories that just mean something to us. We're both initially from Orange County, California, so we have like a very big tie-in to Disneyland. So we do little like Disney divas as well. I mean, it's hard to like just pick a few, right?
Yeah.
So we try to bring a little something for everybody, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's what it sounds like. I didn't realize there was such a repertoire. Is that the right word? I didn't realize there was so much music in it.
Definitely. It's a huge wide range. Like I said, we touch on, we even do like a little disco number, and like we have some pop divas, and of course we both come from Broadway, so there's plenty of Broadway to be had.
And there's banter in between too. It's not just a concert.
Oh no! I mean, Nicole and I have known each other for many, many years. Yeah. We met doing Wicked. We talk a lot in between the numbers. We have really fun stories, silly stories, and heartfelt stories. Yeah, it's Nicole and I, when we used to do Wicked together, we got a lot of like positive reviews about like how good our chemistry was together. Yeah. And so it's really neat to like bring that friendship and that kind of chemistry to the stage, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Now, you mentioned you were on the first national tour of Wicked. So tell us a little bit about touring. What's it like to always be kind of out on the road throughout these towns?
Yeah, right. I mean, touring is a little different than Broadway, right? Like you do Broadway, you get to come home at night, you get to come home to your kid,
Yeah.
and it's just like, it's your job,
Sure.
And on tour, like, your family kind of becomes the castmates that you have.
Yeah.
And so you end up, like, during the day or like on your day off, you'll find things to do in a city together, I also did the San Francisco company, which was really, really cool. And like a couple of us, we'd go like hiking in the redwoods together. So you kind of just like look up ahead of time, what is there to do in the city we're going to?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't even looked into Elmira. Like, when
Yeah.
I come to Elmira, what am I going to do in Elmira?
There's
Like,
so
that's a
much to
new-
do, except for it's -5, so don't go hiking. Put that one.
hiking in Elmira
Put that
right
one
now.
off.
I get it,
No,
yeah.
But there's a lot of Mark Twain history and a lot of really neat things you'll be able to see. So I think you'll like it here.
right on.
You just picked midwinter. That's the only problem. With
I
all
know,
that.
I get it.
But
I get
you're-
it.
you're in
we're,
New
we're
York.
stuck here. We're stuck here too in New York City.
So
So,
you're fine with it. But is it an interesting experience? Like, so you're on Broadway. Would you rather be on Broadway or would you rather tour?
I mean, for me now, having a family now,
Yeah.
it makes more sense for me to be able to come home at night and be home in the mornings and
Sure.
get my son ready for school, all those things, right? But I think like sometimes there's a time and a place to tour, like, and sometimes like for me it might be worth it to pop in for like a month or 3 months, like. It's hard to say. Like to tour, it's different now that I have a family. So it's like, do I want to be gone for that long, or can I take my family with me? Is it during most of the summer months? Like, is it in cities where I actually have extended family? Like that's worth it.
Yeah.
There's a lot more decisions. A lot goes into the decision making now. So yeah, it's a little more ideal for me to stay in New York City and do Broadway, but like. Some things are worth it.
Yeah.
You just gotta wait it out.
Well, what was it exactly that got you involved with Good Witch, Bad Witch? How did that all come about?
It just kind of felt like people, Wicked is like this iconic cultural phenomenon, right? And it just made sense to kind of be able to bring something like this to cities, that sort of like bring Broadway to cities. There is definitely an audience for it, right?
Yeah.
And while we're not going to bring the exact Broadway show of Wicked
Right.
to the audiences, we get to do snippets and share like behind the scenes type stories that they wouldn't know otherwise.
Yeah.
And specifically with me and Nicole, we get to like get specific about our relationship with Wicked. There just seemed to be like a want for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to tell you how popular.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, the pun. How popular Wicked is.
Yes, it's everywhere.
And then it's also a chance to just get to like give a full show, and not just Wicked, but like tell stories about other aspects of our lives of being like Broadway performers, or bring moms and things like that. Yeah, and people seem to have a really great time. It's really, really fun, and it's great because it's fun for the whole family,
Right.
like any age.
Right. And it must be nice for you personally to have such a good relationship with your co-stars, so that when you are traveling together and you can play off each other on stage because of that history, that must make it a little easier every night.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's funny because you talked about touring, right? And
Yeah.
it's like one thing that could come into touring is like you could get sick of some of the people. that you
Right.
work
Well, I didn't
with,
want to
right?
say it that way. Yeah.
I mean, you're with who you're with, but with Nicole, thankfully, I mean, we were both in each other's weddings. That's that's good. We're that good of friends.
Yeah.
So it's like if we're gonna take a flight, I'll sit next to Nicole. I'll spend that because Nicole and I live on opposite coasts too, so we get to meet up and we get to hang. We get to go to new places like Elmira, check it out, do a show together. It's like all part of like getting to be part of each other's lives. We just happen to get to perform together as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Almost like a mini vacation in a weird way.
In a weird
Yeah.
way.
Work,
way, you're not wrong. Totally.
Yeah,
We
okay.
are working, but it's fun, so it does feel like a little getaway too.
And you had mentioned this is fun for all ages. All ages are invited to Good Witch, Bad Witch. I also saw on the Clemens Center's website, clemenscenter.org, they're saying that if you want to, if this is your thing, dress the part and kind of get in on the fun.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Please dress the part.
Yeah.
Please dress the part, because I have been known to pull somebody up every once in a while
Oh, no.
if the moment is correct to do a little popular with me, or I will come to you. I mean, it's not like a stuffy kind of evening. Please dress the part. And we love engaging with the audience and for them to engage with us back. It's not like a sit in your seat and just be polite and clap. Like, enjoy yourself. And if that's going to be fun for you, it's like fun for us too.
Yeah. Yeah. When you are performing, is there a band behind you, or is this all kind of pre-recorded music in the background?
Oh no, we have a live band. We're bringing our music director Ryan Sherrar at the piano, and we have piano, bass, and drums. So it's all live. Okay. It's all live. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
But and I don't know the names of the musicians yet. But 2 of the musicians are going to be from Elmira.
Oh,
we'll get
that's
to meet
really
them that day. They'll learn the show. So we've got locals, and I love that. And we'll give them a shout out during the show too. But you'll have some local musicians there as well.
Oh, that's such a good idea. What do you have a favorite song that you perform every night?
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. If we're talking about solos, I do love singing "Think of Me" from The Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, yeah.
And audiences love to hear that. That's the gift too. Like I get to bring Phantom to them. You know. As far as duets go, Nicole and I have a competitive duet we do called "Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better."
Oh, of course,
and that one's just like really, really fun.
Yeah.
But of course, I love doing all the Wicked stuff and singing For Good at the end of the show with Nicole, because it's so heartfelt and meaningful. And anyone will tell you who's done Wicked, and the 2 witches, we get to that. You get to that song when you're doing Wicked, and even when you sing it out of context in a concert like this, like it's not just about Elphaba and Glenda necessarily. It's also about Allie and Nicole. And so it means it's got a little depth to it.
Yeah,
I love that moment too.
Well, and you talked a little bit about it, but you have such an impressive resume, and you talk about the songs that you sing. When was it that you wanted to do this for a living?
I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
I was making my Broadway debut in Hairspray.
Yeah.
And I was walking the streets. I was going to work. I was eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, walking to the train to go to work. And I was like, oh, I'm paying my rent right now. I'm feeding myself right now. Oh my gosh, like maybe I want to do this for the rest of my life or whatever. Like it just kind of clicked in that moment that it was happening and I could do it. I mean, I went to college. I went to NYU and studied, drama and vocal performance. And but it wasn't until I was doing it that I was just like, oh, I guess it's happening, and we're doing it, and I guess it can happen. You know?
Yeah.
I always just did it for fun growing up. It was just fun. I happened to have some talent, and it was fun, and so I just continued to do it. And now, it's how I make my living.
Yeah. If it's gonna be fun and you can get paid, that's perfect, right? Isn't that the dream? Does it ever get,
yes.
when you're touring or on Broadway, does it ever get old hat every night, or is there something new about every performance?
I mean, that's the gift of live theater, right? Yeah. Like the audience's energy, like in this particular case, if people are coming to have fun and sing along or dress up, like that is going to be different that night than it is the next night, because it's a whole different group of people. When you're doing Broadway and you're doing 8 shows a week, right?
Yeah.
You do have to just like really hone in and you really just got to take it moment by moment.
Sure.
So it doesn't become like, oh, I'm doing the same old thing again.
Yeah,
and there's going to be moments that feel a little more loose than others, but that ends up being the challenge in a long-running Broadway show is, keeping it fresh, keeping it honest, keeping it, as in the moment as it can be, so it doesn't become the same thing every night. But that's the gift of live theater, and it's going to be slightly different. The whole environment's different,
Well, we're talking Good Witch, Bad Witch. That's at the Clemens Center, February 5th. Well, thank you for giving us so much time this morning. Best of luck when you come here in Elmira. Make sure you say hi.
Oh, will do. Thanks for having me, and I'm excited to come out. I'm excited to see these costumes that people might come in.
I don't know.
And dressing up is not your thing. I totally get it, but. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Well, it's strained.
It is?
It's a repetitive motion injury. Do you do this a lot?
Well, I do give out a lot of checks. Now, what about this pain in my back?
Tender, huh? Do you play any contact sports?
Thank you.
Wow!
That explains it. Stick to friendly nods for the next couple of weeks.
An albino buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Day 1 of the National Glider Competition.
United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community.
'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause every person deserves a chance to be heard. 'Cause ever
Will you?
Maybe it was a family vacation or a school field trip. But there you were, standing in awe at a national park. We are the National Park Foundation, and together with you, we're creating a future where every person, every generation, gets their chance at an unforgettable moment. Today, tomorrow, forever. Learn more at nationalparks.org/foundation.
This prolonged cold snap will stay with us through the end of this week, even through the weekend. We'll be at 17 degrees for high temperature this afternoon. Under mostly sunny skies, the average high is 34. As we look ahead, we see a few light lake effect snow showers, maybe a few flurries out here this evening. And overnight, more cold air pooling over us, though. We see our temperatures dropping down to 6 below Thursday night. And through the rest of the weekend, finally, maybe some moderation in our temperatures.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. I can't thank enough Ali Mazi. I pronounced it differently each time. We appreciate her for being on the program. Sounds like a fun event. Good Witch, Bad Witch, coming to the Clemens Center. Again, I see it making the rounds on all the different social media. There is not going to be an ICE detention facility in Steuben County. That is not what they are voting on today. Please do your research before you're duped by the leaders of some of these protest organizations. All right, let's go to viewer comments, shall we? Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Trump says Noem is doing a fine job after their meeting on Monday. Trump should do a fine job and fire her. There's a lot of people calling for the firing of Noem, though it looks as if Democrats are going to start the impeachment process. Trump said Preddy shouldn't have had the gun at a protest like that. He said, you're paraphrasing there, which I paraphrased on the program, but I do try to give a disclaimer. Essentially, and the NRA came out and spoke out against it, saying that he didn't like the gun at the protest. But was that the reason he got murdered? Of course, Trump did not say that. He had every right to conceal carry at a protest. He didn't brandish. You're absolutely right. He didn't brandish the pistol, reach for the pistol, and wasn't asked if he was armed. I thought Trump was a big Second Amendment guy. Maybe not. You're stretching, but that okay, we'll continue. Maybe Don wants to take our firearms. He still won't admit it was his goon squad that committed murder, and his DHS secretary lied about Preddy right after he was murdered. She can resign or face the embarrassment of impeachment. Trump says he wants safe cities and safe countries. He said that in Iowa. So why all the violence, Donald? By the way, why are you in Iowa, Donald? My man Harry Enton says you're there because the Republicans are minus 25 seats behind going into the midterms. I say definitely get aggressive and get cocky with how many seats they're going to lose. Fine. No wonder he wants to cancel midterms. It'll be like a January 6th encore. There we go. Rick, thank you. We already read this one, but you know what? I feel like cleansing the palate in these comments. I like this one. Hi, Frank. My husband and I watch you from Athens, PA. We love your show. I know I already read that, but I'm a sucker for great comments like that. Ken writes in, the left always projects their beliefs on the other side. Remember when they said that Trump is afraid of having strong, powerful women around him? The left is against Kristi Noem because she is doing a good job, removing hundreds of thousands of prospective Democrat voters, and that she exudes more power and determination than the standard bearers on the left, i.e. Kamala, AOC, Crockett, Hochul, etc. Thank you, Ken. And finally, from a viewer, I'm more consistent watching Frankly Speaking than I am remembering to take my vitamins. Thank you so much for your show. Well, we'll have to make an alert on the bottom of the screen. Take your vitamins. We'll do an alarm. Thom Tillis, who is retiring, so now is tough talking, Tom Tillis. He says that Kristi Noem should be out of a job over Minneapolis. What she's done in Minnesota should be disqualifying. She should be out of a job. It's just amateurish. It's terrible. It's making the president look bad on policy that he won on. President Trump won on a strong message of immigration. Now nobody's talking about that. They're talking about the incompetence of the leader of Homeland Security. And again, remember how the media is presenting this. Media is saying Donald Trump throws Greg Bovino under the bus after the shooting. Or if you're Stephen Collinson from CNN, taking a step further, Noem and Bovino are taking heat for Minnesota, but it's mostly on Trump. I don't know why I print this off because I don't want to read it all. We don't have time for it. But Raphael Warnock senator from Georgia, Democrat from Georgia, said Donald Trump has unleashed evil on our streets. So ICE is evil. Democrat Representative Robin Kelly from Illinois said it'll be difficult to vote for more ICE money, even if it includes body cameras and better training. Interesting. Wow. Biden slammed. Wow, what does he be? He's behind the eight ball on this. Obama, Clinton, and others have been out on this for days now. Former President Joe Biden, who oversaw what is widely considered the worst border crisis in U.S. history, took to social media yesterday to condemn the immigration crackdown happening in Minneapolis. I'm not going to read it all, but saying it betrays most basic values. There was an anti-ICE protest breaking out in Manhattan last night. 40 people were arrested. We have learned that ICE agents have faced 8,000% increase in death threats against themselves and, get this, their family. Very troubling. This comes as no surprise. We see these far-left groups who have pushed the doxing of these agents, are releasing information about them, following them. Wow. All right, we got to take a break. Get your last-second comments in. Oh, here's a question for you. According to the Daily Mail out of the United Kingdom, and you know they're always pushing this message that MAGA supporters, Trump supporters, are turned on him. Trump teeters on the brink of, quote, the biggest betrayal since Bush amid a move to de-escalate migrant crackdown. But now there's a palpable fear among Trump's most fervent supporters that the leadership swap could foretell a significant change in immigration strategy and lead to capitulation to the left. Where is this coming from? Has this been on every issue? I know they brought it up on Epstein. They brought it up on this. Sometimes some of them were so simplistic that they said, oh, MAGA's turning on him. A source close to the White House warned that if Trump blinks on mass deportations, it'd be the biggest betrayal of Republican voters since George H.W. Bush broke his no new taxes promise and watched his presidency unravel in 1993. He's always supposedly betraying the base. All right, we got to take a break. Stay with us. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. It's hard to believe how fast this program is going. We'll be right back after this.
Another teenager, victim to fake pills. That smells like big crime that needs to be stopped. Before buying pills online, think about this. Should buying prescription pills be this easy?
Yeah, bro, I'm picking up. Same guy. I bet. Got you 5.
Think these pills are tested and safe? Think they're the same ones you get from a doctor? You know they're not. Did you know that fake prescription pills may contain fentanyl? And an amount small enough to fit on the tip of a pencil can be lethal. Listen. Before buying pills from social media, think again. Learn more at mcgruffpsa.org and go for real.
This prolonged cold snap will stay with us through the end of this week, even through the weekend. We'll be at 17 degrees for high temperature this afternoon. Under mostly sunny skies, the average high is 34. As we look ahead, we see a few light lake effect snow showers, maybe a few flurries out here this evening. And overnight, more cold air pooling over us, though. We see our temperatures dropping down to 6 below Thursday night. And through the rest of the weekend, finally, maybe some moderation in our temperatures early next week with high.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back. Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We have a couple comments here. Sorry, I'm getting distracted here. Great news, says a viewer. Kathy Hochul has a safe way to shovel video on Facebook. Who else has a hands-on micromanaging governor like us? That's a great point. Pardon me. Thank you for sending it. A little bit of that tea went down the wrong hatch. I saw that on Empire Report. The safe way to shovel by none other than Kathy Hochul. We know it's not with a gas snowblower. We learned that yesterday. And this was more on how to shovel with an actual shovel. So thank you, Governor Hochul, for focusing on what is important. And, of course, we know that speaking of her, she has been calling for Kristi Noem to resign, and her opponent, Bruce Blakeman, that looks like to be the Republican candidate for governor. Listen to the pieces they put out on him. Kathy Hochul's challenger, so don't even mention his name in the headline, is all in on ICE. Okay. He wants to do the opposite of what Hochul did. We have the most comprehensive agreement with ICE in the United States, meaning in Nassau County. I've dedicated 50 jail cells to ICE, and I've dedicated 10 detectives from our Nassau County Police Department to ICE, and we're doing it because we want to make our community safe. All right. How are we doing? Michael Goodwin at the Post says that Trump's stance on immigration is key to his approach in de-escalating the crisis in Minnesota. Whether you call it a pivot, course correction, or de-escalation, it is a hopeful sign that President Trump is trying to lower the temperature in Minneapolis. At the same time, Trump's willingness to compromise on tactics, tone, and optics should not be misinterpreted as a surrender on principles. If he did that, an important pillar of federal law enforcement power would be squandered, and his presidency would be seriously damaged by a deflection or defection of supporters. Trump's pledge to enforce immigration law was a key component to him winning. We know that. The main problem here is Joe's problem. The main problem was and remains Joe Biden's open border policy, which allowed upwards of as many as 15 million unvetted migrants to come to America in just 4 years. Recall that he made Vice President Kamala Harris the border czar, and she promptly disappeared without trying to make even modest improvements to the disastrous status quo. But I had mentioned this, and I thought we probably wouldn't get a chance to get to it, but maybe we can. Jonathan Turley says that Democrat politicians are risking lives with their reckless anti-ICE rhetoric. This year, there has been a race to the bottom as Democrat politicians fuel the rage in our streets against immigration and customs enforcement officers. And I don't want to go through all the quotes, but Jonathan Turley saying, where is it here? Only the mob matters. Minneapolis Police Department Chief Brian O'Hara explained even if there is an investigation that ultimately proves that at that time of the shooting it was legally justified, I don't think that even matters at this point because there is so much outrage and concern around what is happening in the city. Walz has demonstrated politics of the lowest kind, stoking anger as citizens and officers alike are injured. Walz is pledging to go to court to further stop operations, a lawsuit that would be another frivolous filing. Previously, the state, including Attorney General Keith Ellison, filed to prevent the federal government from increasing forces to investigate fraud and immigration violations. Walz, May, and others are following a long line of demagogues who sought to use social unrest to advance their political careers. For Walz, sending people into the streets has the benefit of not having them at home watching and reading about the growing fraud scandal in the state. It's not a defense of democracy, but mobocracy in Minnesota. And that's a great point. It gets the distraction from all the fraud. And it's kind of what we're dealing with in Steuben County, where people are lying and saying that there's going to be an ICE detention facility just so they can fan the flames, get more protesters at the legislature so they get the attention and they get the praise on social media, all while pushing a lie. That's why we're so glad for the Hornell Sun. If you want to do a little more research, Hornell Sun, to find out about the Steuben County legislature is not voting for an ICE detention facility. It is not that at all, and we thank them for doing the reporting on it, and we thank the sheriff and Kelly Fitzpatrick, Jack Wheeler, and others for sending in that statement. All right, when we come back, we're probably going to wrap up on a few things that aren't Minnesota. We'll see. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Watch news from the Twin Tiers and catch local events on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. We'd never make a separate dinner. and never do that. We'd never let them sleep in our room. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris. Okay, well, I'm not at my desk right now.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Mark writes in, this is for the media. If they are watching, MAGA is not turning on Trump. You are and always have been, meaning the media. Have a great day, Frank. Well, thanks, Mark. Have a great day to you as well. On the New York State issues, quickly, New York could lose 2 more seats in Congress based on the latest population data as people are leaving in mass droves. Because of the state's stagnant population, which is used to determine the number of seats, New York's population only grew by 1,008 people over the 12-year period that ended in July. I would even question those numbers. That's better than what's been reported for the state in other years. While New York's, but keep in mind, when we say leaving, they leave, they're replaced by, so we talked about it in the past because of the high tax rates, the rich leaving and are followed by people that just do not have as much money. So that's why we have such an issue with our tax base as well. I know I'm moving through some of these things quickly. Gubernatorial candidate Bruce Blakeman demands that New York adopt anti-Semitism definition that Mamdani changed when he first got the office. New York State has not adopted the definition, Blakeman said. On top of that, Mayor Adams, who adopted the definition, was overturned by the new mayor, Zohran Mamdani. We believe this is a disgrace, it's an injustice, and we're demanding our elected officials adopt the definition. It's the definition by the International Holocaust Remembrance Association and their definition of anti-Semitism. By the way, speaking of Zohran Mamdani, did you see that? Oh, hey, how about this? Good morning, Frank. Enjoy the show. Have a great day. Well, thank you. Good morning to you as well. I appreciate that. That's very nice and very kind words. So DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, are having their moment in the sun after Zohran Mamdani's mayoral win. But again, you've heard me belabor the point that I think it was just a perfect storm. Cuomo didn't campaign in the primary. He wasn't a good candidate. The list goes on and on. But DSA membership has nearly doubled since Mamdani's campaign. After years of declining membership, the socialist organization now has over 90,000 members, folks. 90,000 members. That does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Americans will see an average $1,000 boost to their tax refunds thanks to Trump's one big beautiful bill. All right, I can't go through all. Thank you to Ali Mazi, or Maisie, for being on the program. She is one of the stars of Good Witch, Bad Witch, coming to the Clemens Center very soon. We appreciate her being on the program. On tomorrow's broadcast, Greg Tranter will be joining us to talk about his book signing coming up on Barnes & Nobles on Saturday. Friday, it's Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski, of course, former congressman, current New York State Assemblyman. And then on Monday, changing things up. It's not Fridays with Phil, it's Mondays with Phil this next week, as Phil Palmisano will be joining us on Monday the 2nd. Have a great day, everyone, and we will see you tomorrow morning bright and early for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.